Well, cryptocurrency Bitcoin has hit its highest levels in 2 weeks. This comes as interest in digital assets from big institutions is gaining momentum. We're joined now by co-founder and director at Bitcoin Events, Sonya Kuhnel. A very good afternoon to you, Sonya. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, can you just talk us through some of these factors that influenced Bitcoin hitting its highest levels in the past 2 weeks and just the general rise in its value?
Yeah, sure. So, as we're having this discussion, Bitcoin has actually just reached its all-time high of over $60,000. A few minutes ago, it was trading at its all-time high of about $58,000, which it reached about 2 weeks ago. But as we're talking right now, it's actually just gone over that. So it's quite exciting. I'm busy watching the charts here as we're talking. Look, it's had a massive increase over the last year. And if we compare to where it was last year, exactly a year ago to date, it was trading around $5,000 US. It's over 1,000% increase in 1 year, year to date. The factors contributing to this massive rise is several factors. What we're seeing is a lot of people are looking at Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies as a safe haven asset. And especially during times of economic uncertainty, you have these investors looking at Bitcoin and looking at investing into it. What caused the drop in price exactly a year ago was obviously COVID. So, the whole market collapsed during COVID, and Bitcoin obviously also collapsed during that. But what we've seen over the last year is there's a tremendous amount of interest in cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin, from institutional investors. So in the past, we had a lot of retail investors very interested, climbing in and, putting small amounts of cryptocurrency into their investment portfolio. But what we're seeing now is, we're seeing the likes of Elon Musk and Tesla, for example, they recently announced that they had just bought $1.5 billion of Bitcoin. Now, that's a significant amount of Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. And they bought that, Elon Musk bought that at $32,000. So if we're looking at the price right now, he's almost doubled his money and in his investment. So, that's significant. We're also seeing people like Jack Dorsey and, Twitter founder Jack Dorsey. Recently, their firm Square invested $170 million into Bitcoin, and last year invested about $50 million. So, a significant amount of investment going into that. And on top of that, we're seeing the business analytics firm MicroStrategy investing all the time into Bitcoin. And I believe they have around 91,000 Bitcoin currently, and that's equal to about $5.1 billion. Now, MicroStrategy got into the game when the price, I think they invested about $2.2 billion. And they've literally doubled their investment as well at today's prices, more than doubled their investment. So we're seeing a lot of institutional investment going into the space, and we are seeing the retail demand decreasing somewhat. With a limited supply, if you look at Bitcoin, there's only 21,000 Bitcoin that will ever be mined, and currently we have about 21 million. And currently it's just over 18 million that's been mined. So there's not much left of Bitcoin to be mined. So it is a very scarce commodity. Mm-hmm. And what we are seeing is a lot of Bitcoin is being taken off the exchanges. In particular, one of the largest exchanges in the world, Coinbase, based in the US, we're seeing large amounts of crypto being taken off the exchange, which means these institutional investors, or whales as we call them in the industry, are putting them into cold storage, and they're not looking at selling anytime soon. It's a very exciting.
Them as though they're like a measure of like a gold bar type of standard, like storing the value of money in them. And can you also just talk to us a bit about the cryptocurrency regulatory momentum in South Africa specifically?
Yes, so currently, there is no regulation, just to be clear. There's a lot of confusion around that, but there is currently no regulation. The regulators don't see it as legal tender. And I believe this is really one of the biggest hurdles for adoption of cryptocurrencies and businesses that are trying to promote cryptocurrencies in South Africa. The regulators did publish a policy paper early 2014 warning the public about the risks involved with cryptocurrencies and saying to them that there's no consumer protection for them if they do invest in this space. But recently, last year we saw the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, or the FCSA, publish a draft declaration on crypto assets. And what they said was that they view crypto assets as a financial product. And that, all brokers and service providers and exchanges and advisors will have to actually register with the FCA as a financial service provider. So this will mean that all the exchanges currently operating in South Africa in some time, it might not be this year, it might be next year, they will have to register with the FCA, and there will be some oversight of these exchanges, which is a good thing. The people in the industry, which I'm involved with, are all looking for regulation to not only protect the consumer, but also to promote the industry and the innovation around this industry. So yes, there is no consumer protection right now, and there are concerns around that with the regulators. In particular, there was one of the biggest scams that ever took place in the world, which was called the Mirror Trading International Scam, or MTI, that's now insolvent. And, 9 billion rand was defrauded from consumers who invested in MTI. So regulation is very important, and the regulators understand that that is something that is a priority for them, and they will be regulating pretty soon. I can't say exactly when. I'm not privy to their discussions, but it will be soon.
Of course. Now, just considering that you mentioned that only 21 million bitcoins can ever be mined, that there is that cap, and that we're actually nearing that cap, and with not much regulation being available in South Africa, would you encourage people to still continue investing in Bitcoin?
Look, I have invested since 2013, and, there's a tremendous amount of money to be made in the space. But I only sort of say to people, get involved if you really understand what you're getting into. It's like anything, really. You're not going to buy a stock or a bond that you have no idea how it works or what performance has been over a period of time. So that's just silly. You need to be doing your homework. You need to look carefully at which are the top performing cryptocurrencies. And if you're not comfortable with trading yourself, rather go to an index fund. And there's a couple of very legitimate index funds, crypto index funds in South Africa, where you can invest in a bundle of the top performing cryptocurrencies, and they actually manage that for you. And there are nice gains that you can be made in that space. So, you need to do your homework, you need to be educated, and you need to always say to people, there's a lot of greed going around in the space. A lot of people are making a lot of money, but a lot of people are losing money. The price is very volatile. You need to be watching it every day if you're trading, and you need to be very careful. And, everyone in the space always says, do not invest more than you can afford to lose. So